Hey guys, and welcome to the video. So in this video, we are going to give you guys a brief introduction of our new classroom. So even though there is a new classroom, there is still going to be a transition period in which we are going to be using both classrooms at the same time. One of the main reasons we have this new classroom is to accommodate our new set of teaching materials. So we have some interactive PPTs now in which the students can click on some items and some animations and songs will appear within the slides. So we're going to give you guys an introduction on the functions and features of this new classroom and also give you a sneak peek into some of the new slides. Okay, so let's get started. Alright guys, so the first thing that we're going to take a look at is the bar at the top here. You may have noticed this is quite different from our old classroom. Here it says Teachers Network State, excellent, and Students Network State, excellent. This is to give you guys an indication of your network connection to the classroom, as well as the students' network connection to the classroom. Okay, so if you run into any IT issues, you don't need to worry, as our IT staff are watching each of the classes and will help you if you run into any issues. Now, if we shift our attention here to the top right, we can see these two items. This item on the left is our timer, and this, as you may have noticed, is the Start Class button from our previous classroom. Now, it's kind of moved from the bottom right to the top right here to be a little more convenient for the teachers. As soon as we click on this Start Class button, it will change to be a Finish Class button, and also this timer will start counting up from 0. Now, this will be a little more convenient if you wish to control the pacing of your classes. There will also be an icon added here in which will be a toolbox for some interactive features, such as a virtual die and a timer. You can use these within your class to make it a little more interesting and interactive. Also, it should be noted that this star function here, the reward function, can only be pressed once the class has been started. We will take a look at those in a little more detail once we start introducing the teaching tools. Okay? Now, let's move on to these functions on the left here. The first button that we can see is a Files button. This will allow us to view the documents associated with this particular class. So here you can see the lesson PPT, K2 Unit 1, Lesson 1, and we also have this function here. It says Whiteboard. If we click on this, it will turn the entire screen into a giant whiteboard in which we can interact with the student. If we wish to go back from the whiteboard, we can go and click back on the lesson PPT and it will take us back to where we were before. Okay? Now, the next icon we can see here is our Media Files icon. If we click on this, it will give us a list of all of the audio and video files that we can play during the class to the students, and they will be organized in these two folders, Classroom Documents and Public Documents. And the last icon that we can see here on the left is our student list. It will tell us the name of the student who is in the class, and after we click on the Start Class button, it will tell us what features they have available to them. So it will tell us if their microphone is enabled, if their interaction with the PPT screen is enabled, as well as if their video is on or off. If we look further down here at the bottom left, we can find our settings. So just like in the previous classroom, we can test and change our camera settings here. We can test our speaker settings, our microphone settings, and our system settings here. If we have any IT issues during the class, we can take a screenshot of this and send it to IT so that they can be of more assistance to us. One thing that I should note is this. Back in the camera test section, you will notice that it says mirror mode here. Now, even though our video may be displayed flipped to us, it is actually displayed correctly to the students. So please keep that in mind. Okay, so we're going to go back. And the last item that we can see here on the left is a help icon. And this basically just gives us an overview of the different features within this new classroom, just like this video. So we click on this and it says, select or upload slides from the course library. Play audio or video files from the media library. View members in the classroom. And on the right-hand side, we have our teaching tools. And once again, we can find our settings to test or set up our device, audio and visual functions here. Okay? So let's take a look now on the right-hand side, starting with our video views. So as you can see, on the top here, we have the student's view, and below that, we have the teacher's view. Here, we can see the student's name, and next to it, we can see how many stars we have given to the student. As the class hasn't started, all the stars are grayed out, but with each star that I give to the student, there will be one more gold star shown in this set of 5 stars. And the last icon on the right here is to show us whether or not the student has their microphone enabled or disabled. As I am both the teacher and student in this test classroom, I have disabled that. Now, as you may have noticed, as I hover over my video, I can see the options to turn my microphone and video on or off. I've turned off the microphone in this particular case because I don't want the audio feedback while I'm recording. The teacher will also have the option to turn the student's microphone on or off, their video on or off, as well as to decide whether or not the student has the ability to interact with the PPT slides. But these options will become available after you click on the Start Class button. Okay? Below the teacher's video, you can find the chat box. The chat box is a little bit different from the previous classroom. Now, if I send a message to the student, that message is not automatically translated. However, the student has the option to press on the message in order to translate it into Chinese. The same goes if the student sends you a message in Chinese, you have to click on the message in order to translate it. And another update to the chat box is the addition of these emojis. So we can now send emojis alongside our messages to the students. In order for us to properly introduce the teaching tools on the right-hand side, we need to click this Start Class button. Otherwise, our interactive toolbox with the interactive die and timer function will not appear, and we won't have access to the reward function here. So let's go ahead and start the class and then introduce the teaching tools here on the right-hand side. Okay, so the first item that we have on the top here is our interactive toolbox. So as I've just stated, we have an interactive die, or in this case they call it a turntable, but it's basically a random number generator that we can use to make the classes more fun and interesting. And we also have a timer function. So if you want to give the student a particular amount of time to complete a task, we can just set the time here and then click the Start button there. Then the timer will count down and ring once it hits 0. Okay, so let's take a look at the next tool that we have. The next tool that we have is our pointer tool. So if we are using an interactive PPT, such as this one, we can just click left and right on the particular point on that PPT. And if there are any interactive parts to the PPT, then clicking on it will activate those parts. Okay? The next tool that we will look at is this tool. This is our laser pen tool and can be very useful when it comes to reading. So it will show a dot under where your mouse is pointing. Okay? Below that is our drawing tool. We have 4 options available on the drawing tool, so we can select the pencil, the highlighter function, the line tool, and an arrow tool. So we just click on where it says drawing tool, and then select the one in which we want to use. Okay? Now, if we wish to change the color of either the pen or the text tool that we have here, we go down to the color change tool here, and we have a wide array of colors to choose from, unlike the previous classroom. So I've just changed it to a purple arrow, as that was the last tool that I had selected. Alright guys, I just want to make a point about the drawing tool and the pointer tool that we have here. So for some of the younger learners, especially the ones that these trial classes are aimed at, the K2 level, they may find it a little bit difficult to select the tools that are required for some of the activities. So please keep in mind that if you select the mouse tool or the drawing tool on your side, it is also selected on the student side. So it makes explaining it to them a little bit easier. So as I've just stated, clicking on this allows us to bring up the text tool. We have 3 fonts that we can choose from. So I can select one, select where I want to place my text, write the text in, click outside of the box to deselect that text, and then move it to where I want to place it. Once again, clicking outside of the box, permanently placing it in that location. If I have made a mistake at any point in time, I can click on the undo button here, and it will remove my last action. If that was a mistake, then I can redo that action by clicking on the redo button here. Okay, now below the text input tool, we have our shape tool. So we have 2 shapes that we can choose from. We have the hollow square or the filled square, and also the hollow circle or full circle there. So these will help us with drawing any particular drawings that we may need to do within our class. Okay, below all of these tools is the eraser tool. So I can erase parts of the drawn items on the screen by just moving my mouse over them. And if I wish to clear the screen, I can just click the clear screen button below that. One little tidbit that I missed out on when talking about the color tool is this. We can select the thickness of the drawing tool. So we have a very minuscule thickness here. We have a medium thickness here. Oh, I need to select the drawing tool. And we have our thickness here, our thickest setting here. Okay? So keep that in mind. And the last function that we have here at the bottom is our star tool, our reward tool. So just like in the previous classroom, we have a maximum of 5 stars that can be given to the student. And if I click on that, an animation of a star will appear, and you can hear the sound of that. If we have found that the reward tool is too loud, then we can just reduce the volume by selecting it here at the bottom. So as you've noticed, once we start the class, the volume button is also selectable. Now, that pretty much sums up all of the teaching tools that we have here on the right-hand side. Now, let's give you guys a bit of a sneak peek as to the interactive PPTs that we now have for the K2 trial classes. Okay, so let's clear the screen. I can now click left and right with the big left and right arrows that we have here. On the Let's Sing page, if I click on the text, a song will start playing. And the tips are shown in the top right here. If you don't know what to do, you can read the tips from the top right, and then when you are done, you can just minimize by clicking on the small arrow icon there. As you can see, some of the slides are animated in order to be more interactive and interesting for the students. And we have some interactive games that can be played with the students. Now, I'm going to go over a few points that I haven't mentioned in the video so far. First of all, if it's your first time to enter into the classroom, then you'll be presented with an IT test, which will basically go over your video and audio settings. Second of all, the language of the classroom is set according to your system language. Third, you will need to use Chrome as your browser, because if you don't, then you will need to download the client software, which can be quite a hassle. So to ensure that everything works as it's supposed to, we recommend that you use Chrome. And lastly, please keep in mind that in this classroom, you need to start the class at the designated time to start the class. So if you start your class at 4 p.m., then you can't click the Start Class button earlier than 4 p.m. And after 25 minutes, please be sure to end the class by clicking on the Finish Class button. If you don't do that, then the goodbye song will not play, and also there will be a delay on the system updating the finishing status for that class. Okay, so to avoid any errors, please always click the Finish Class button to end the class. Now, let me show you what it looks like when you click the Finish Class button, okay? Are you sure you want to finish the class? Yes.
Goodbye, goodbye, go, go, kid. Time to say goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, go, go, kid. See you next time. Hope you learned a lot today. Hope you had fun today. Goodbye, goodbye, go, go, kid. See you next time.